the black night with deadly intentions. No lies left in the eyes of these expired henchmen, beckoning back unto the earth from their festering place. This horror lives and breathes and stares at you straight in the face. I hear a rumbling coming from the underground. Tonight the dead shall rise for carnage. They come from the grave. They come from the grave. Remnant remnants of mankind lies at the feet. Us left to all humanity. We can't control these beasts. This genocidal bag of Acadabra's forces. This planet's overcome now by these living corpses. I hear a rumbling coming from the underground. Tonight the dead shall rise for carnage. They come from the grave with murder on their minds. They come from the grave even in broad daylight. They come from the grave with murder on their minds. They come from the grave, though dead they walk alive, walk alive, walk alive, walk alive, walk alive. They come from the grave. From the grave. That's a deep cut, kind of. Is anybody? I haven't looked. Hey, everybody, how are you? Nice to see you. Sorry, I was looking at the chords. Let's see if anybody shouted out what that was. Anybody? Anybody? Let's scroll through here. Any guesses on that song? Anybody? Kind of a deep cut. That's okay. I'll wait. I'll just sit like this in my nice chair and tap my fingers while I wait for an answer. Yes, thank you. Thank you, Jovi. That was They Come. They Come is a song off of Blitz Kids. I don't know what number album it was. Trace of a Stranger. I know that much. And that was a song that I remember TB wrote that song. And we were trying to find some songs to round off the what was becoming Trace of a Stranger, right? And, we had that riff. And I remember sitting up in the music room, right, which is where we rehearsed, when we rehearsed. And that song kind of coming together last minute, right? Like, it was totally different. I'm trying to remember how we used to play it. But I'm really happy with the way it ended up. I mean, Trace of Stranger, it's not like it was artsy in such an extreme that, it's like indie or anything like that, right? I mean, it's a horror punk album. But, we did experiment with a lot of, I guess, like different rhythms and drum patterns for sure on that album. And They Come was one of those. It kind of had more of a, like, I don't know, not calypso beat to it, but it was very like shuffle, very kind of tom oriented, you know what I mean? And it wasn't like that to begin with. So shout out to Billy Bones for bringing that one together. So yeah, one of my favorites. I like that one a lot. Again, we hardly really ever played that one too much, not out of dislike, but more just out of time constraints. Set lists are always hard, never easy when you got to put those together. But anyway, yeah, that's They Come. And when we go back out on tour, whenever coronavirus decides to stop reaming everyone, I think we might try to play that one. At least at the VIPs, you know what I'm saying? Because I think it's probably better acoustic. We did play that song acoustically. I don't know if you guys know this, but there was a point in time when we were in between drummers that we did a live show that we recorded. And I say recorded. No offense, Chris. It was just like on a Tascam, like little cassette deal. But we played acoustically, sans drummer, at a place called the Princeton Rec Center, which I've talked about before. Our illustrious career with the Princeton Rec Center. And we called that show Hollow Bodies. And, you know, that's kind of how what I'm doing now in my band, the Hollow Bodies, that was the genesis of it. It was having that acoustic show that we played way back. I think it was like maybe 2003, maybe earlier than that. That was the first time we'd ever done anything like that. But it was cool, man, right? And we were going to do more, but we never did. But that show was the reason why I bought that acoustic bass back there. Because once we realized we were playing acoustically, I was like, well, what the hell am I going to do? So I went out and I got a loan with the music store. Lollipop Music, shout out Lollipop Music in Princeton, West Virginia. So they hooked me up with that beautiful Aria bass guitar, and I've used that on everything that I've done acoustically since then. So the more you know. All right, I'm going to jump through here into some comments. First, I do want to say hello to everybody. Nice to see you. I almost didn't make it today, so I'm glad I did. It's really nice to see all you guys. No, I'm not a lefty. Well, I am a lefty, but I'm not. I play righty. If it looks lefty, it's because the camera is probably flipped. But that's interesting because being a lefty has been a handicap for me. I guess it still is, depending on what I'm doing. When I first started playing bass, I started playing guitar first, and then I kind of put that away, not really actively like I'm done, but I really had nobody to play with, and I didn't really know what I was doing, so I was like, another day, right? But by the time I joined Blitzkid, I had, I guess, garnered enough, enough guitar know-how, to do power chords and, play like a Ramones set pretty efficiently. But yeah, that was one of the beauties about playing bass at the very beginning was I was really limited in experience and dexterity, I guess, being left-handed and playing right-handed. And I tried to play left-handed when I did start playing guitar, but the few people that was able to show me what chords I did learn, they were just not having it, man. It was like too confusing, you know what I mean? Because you have to either get a lefty guitar or go Jimi Hendrix style and strum it upside down. And I just, remember one of the first songs I learned how to play was Come As You Are by Nirvana. Not because I really love that song. I mean, I do, but it was just the guy who was teaching me was like, Nirvana. So I remember him looking at me like, I don't know what your fingers are doing right now. So I just was like, you know what? I'm going to flip it and we're going to play this way. So that's something, that's always been with me from day one. Blitzkid was always about like energy, man. You know what I'm saying? Like when we would play, we played fast. I listened back to some of our stuff and I realized we played really fast sometimes. For someone like myself who hadn't come out of any type of discipline with instruments, like my hand was just all over the place, right? And thank God for wristbands. Like when I realized wristbands were a thing, and that's why we used to wear the forearm bands, because I would rash myself all the way up to my forearm. I could hear it squeaking while we were playing from the sweat. But no, man, we tried as much as we could to break out, from our limitations. And by us, I mean me. Like Tracy TB was already like very well versed and astute in guitar and skill and all that stuff. I just had to keep up, so that's where a lot of the, quote unquote showmanship in our live shows came from, was just me trying to keep up, man. I was like, well, if I can't hit this chord right, I'm at least going to hit it stylishly. You know what I mean? So that's kind of how that history went. Another interesting thing too, man, one of the best things that I learned how to do to teach myself how to play, to gain independence of this hand, my fretting or my picking hand, was, if there are any bass players out there, I get asked sometimes, like if I have any tips, which I totally appreciate, man, but I also to find somewhat hilarious, because like I have no technical prowess, man. I just have instinct and you know, 3 chords and the truth. But one thing that I did learn to do, and I highly recommend this if you're really wanting to like learn how to play, tape your fingers up in different increments. So what I would do is I would tape these 2 fingers together, right? So then I would have 3 fingers to play. Then I would tape these 2 fingers to play together. Then I would have these 3 fingers, or like that, right? Or then I'd have this one and then these 2 taped. So it was really helpful. There was a point in time where I was adamant that outside of Blitzkid, I was going to learn how to play every Johann Sebastian Bach piano like piece on bass, as well as, you know, become Steve Harris's stand-in anytime Iron Maiden wanted to roll through West Virginia. So one of those didn't happen. All right, so anyway, enough of that. I'm going to jump in here and answer some questions, so bear with me. All right, man. Bionic Hee Haw, Justin, similarly. Check this out, you guys. He brings up a good point here. In the world of toys right now, there was a very, very awesome release. Mezco. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with Mezco, the toy company. Shout out Mezco if you're listening. All right. They put out a really, really cool series of toys. I think it was probably early 2000s, called the Silent Screamers. And I know probably a lot of you guys know what I'm talking about. You probably have them. That series went on for a while, which was awesome. But I mean, they covered everything from Count Orlok, Knock Renfield, Dr. Caligari, Cesare. They even went as far as to do Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, the Barrymore version. These are all the silent versions. They did the False Maria from Metropolis, and they did this huge, like really impressive golem. But they're back. So, you know what I mean? Like, Mezco has reissued, or rebooted, I should say, their Nosferatu figure, and it's fucking awesome. All right. If you guys have a chance, just Google it. I mean, I could talk forever about it, but it's like, I think it's like a 1/12 scale, I think it's called. 3 interchangeable heads. He's got the keys, he's got a lantern, he's got a coffin, he's got the rats. There's like all these points of articulation. So I'm really hoping that, you know, this means that they're going to be doing more of these guys. I'd love to see the rest of that entire series get rebooted. So anybody out there, if you want to shout out on the Silent Screamers, let me know. The cool thing that I liked about the Silent Screamers by Mezco was the figures didn't necessarily look like the actors. And what I mean by that is Nosferatu, for example, right? Count Orlok. You know, there was a whole process behind Count Orlok before it even got to Max Schreck. Albin Grau, who was the art director for Nosferatu, he had conceptual sketches from Nosferatu like before they even really got into, you know, filming, which is part of the screenplay. But I mean, they were in depth. And what was cool about Murnau was he worked really, really closely to Grau's sketches, and that played a lot into, you know, casting Max Schreck. Just Google Albin Grau's Nosferatu art, and you'll see there's one particular poster where you know, Nosferatu's kind of at an angle. He's pulling one of these, you know. There's a bunch of rats kind of jumping through him. That was the pose that Mezco used for their original Silent Screamers. And I thought that was cool. You know what I mean? They're trying to not only do, you know, silent movie monsters, but they were trying to keep them kind of in line with how they were conceptually designed. So I thought that was cool. Especially because if you look at the early Nosferatu designs, you know, he was supposed to be a hybrid between, you know, everything, a wolf, a bat, and an insect, too, which was a large reason why he had these very spider-like black glossy eyes. So anyway, the reboot, that's there. They got that. Everything's in tow. Stoked. Can't wait. No guests today, all right? We got some busy people out there in my circle right now. But next week, I'm going to be bringing on my buddy Sam first from Monsters Are Good. Monsters Are Good is a company that Sam runs. up in Massachusetts. He works in tandem a lot with Trick or Treat Studios, and a lot of what they do for their masks and their packaging and their artwork. He's done a lot of work for a lot of really cool bands. He's worked with Damnation. He's done some stuff for Shadow Windhawk, and he did some of the recent Blitzkid shirt designs for the Escape the Grave tour. So we got that. He's also done some stuff for me as well. I just haven't had a chance to really do anything with it yet, so we'll see what happens. But anyway, we're going to bring him on, and we're going to talk about art. And we're going to talk about monsters, because that's what I like to do, and he is a good conversation for that. So let me see here, you guys. Hang on 1 second. Oh, where am I? Hold on. There I am. Oh, look, you guys are in Rome. Watch. Whisked away to Rome. Diddle-a-dee, diddle-a-dee, diddle-a-dee. That might actually be Romania. I'm not sure. All right. So anyways, good to see you guys, man. Thank you for showing up. Motel Hell was on Let Flowers Die. Thank you. I'm going to roll through some of these comments. That's what happens, man. First comments on Nosferatu. I get stifled. I apologize. Hello. Wished audio was better. Sorry. Hello. No guess. Thank you for being here. Washer at the Ford. That's something I definitely do want to play. I'm working on some other stuff with that, like in terms of arrangement. So we'll see what happens with that. AJ Lopez wants to know musically what the hardest part of being a bassist in a trio is. I don't know. I don't know if there's anything about being in a trio that makes it hard, like more hard than being in a band with 5 people, 6 people, 2 people. It's all about communication. You know what I mean? It's about synergy with the people you're playing with, and instinct. You know what I mean? You kind of got to know when, not only when certain things like changes in terms of chord progressions are happening, but you kind of got to be aware of each other and what the other person's dealing with. For example, if I see TB and I see like he's got a bad monitor set up, or vice versa, you got to be ready to adapt how you sing, because you kind of need to be ready. Like, all right, I anticipate like he's not going to hear me as well. So there's just a lot of factors you got to take into it, and it's just adaptability, really. I don't know what kind of authority I am on these sort of things, but just from my experience, it's being able to think on your feet and just roll with it. If something goes wrong, make it right, work with it. And I think that's the hardest part is, everyone learning each other's nuances and each other's spaces on stage. But musically, I don't think that it's very hard. If anything, it's probably easier for me because, I'm a little more involved in the forward motion of the song. Whereas, bassist in some cases, which is totally cool, you're more in the background, you're more backbeat. Being in a trio and being in a band like Blitzkid, it's more, it's all 3 of us. We're pushing this song at the same speed in tandem. So, let me see here. What are my top 3 haunted house books and movies? I'd say probably from a haunted house standpoint, I would say The Picture in the House by H.P. Lovecraft. That's a really, really very just unnerving, unsettling story in classic H.P. Lovecraft style. So if you get a chance, look at that one, The Picture in the House. There's one called In Cropsburg Keep, and I can't remember if that was Wilkie Collins or someone else, but it's about these 2 traveling students, you know what I mean? It's based in Germany, and they go into a town where they see a castle up on a hill, and it's old and it's burnt out, and they hear haunted house or the stories of the hauntings up there, and they're like, we're gonna go stay in this haunted castle, and we're not scared, etc., etc. And they get there, and of course things happen that prove to them and the reader that they shouldn't have been there all along. The third one, I would say The Haunted House. It's called The Haunted House. Algernon Blackwood. That's a good one. Strange Occurrence on I forgot the name of the street. There's a lot of them. Victorian era was really good for ghost stories. They all didn't really have to necessarily revolve around like haunted houses. A lot of them, were various settings. I think it was Charles Dickens. Charles Dickens, I think, or I don't know if it's Charles Dickens or Robert Louis Stevenson. But I think it's Charles Dickens. Someone should correct me if I'm wrong here. But The Signalman, that's a ghost story that's based, on a railroad, for example. But I think Victorian era ghost stories, I've said it before, I think those are the best ones just because they were very, a lot of the concepts were new. If you look at them now, they're not scary, they seem outdated, and the only reason they're outdated is because they've been used so much. The plots and a lot of the, rising action, climaxes, falling actions, the resolutions in those stories, they were all something that really progressed, that was built off of a lot of things that we know to this day and that we see in movies all the time, and books. So that's my long convoluted answer. Movies, haunted house movies. God, that's a good one. I like the Haunting, the original Haunting. That was a really good one. That one was like a slow burner. The scene where the two ladies are in the room and she's trying to leave and the door's banging. Stuff like that I thought was really, effective, especially in that time era. God, man, I don't even know haunted houses. I like the original 13 Ghosts for the camp value of it, and I like the remake as well. I think we even talked about that last week. But I'll get back to you on my third one. Like I said, there's too many. Lefty playing righty is brutal. Yeah, man, it's hard. It helped. I stepped away from guitar for a while once I started playing bass, just because one, I needed to learn how to play bass, especially because we started playing shows right out of the box. It really wasn't. I think I'd been in Blitzkid for maybe 2 months before we had our first show, and that's not like we were even really practicing in that time either. Our first show just kind of came up as an opportunity, trial by fire. That was it. So I was kind of put in a situation where I really needed to focus on getting good at bass, at least in a way that I could play a show. But after I kind of started getting a better feel, a better flow for everything, because it's the same fretboard, it's the same chord structure, same tuning. That kind of opened me up to go back to guitar, especially when I started writing music. When I first joined Blitzkid, I'd never written a song, and then after that, that door opened and guitar kind of came back in. So, but no, it definitely makes things more difficult. I especially just playing anything that's not a power chord. It's hard. Just like if you're a guitar player out there, flip it over, and you know what I'm talking about. So. Dead House, yeah, man. Dead House that's a cool song, man. I don't know if we had a chance to really talk about that when TB was on, but we should get into that at some point. A new book to read. I have my whole cast of characters that I usually go to. I have a wide palette of interest when it comes to books. It just depends on what you're looking for. I know you're saying horror, but obviously H.P. Lovecraft, you can never go wrong with him. Algernon Blackwood, Poe, clearly, right? But there's all kinds of other guys out there as well. It's not even a horror book, but I talked about it last week. Lord of the Flies, William Golding, that's a really good one. If you've never read that, check out Lord of the Flies. I think you'll dig that one. Yeah, the harmonies. And, harmonies was a big part of Blitzkid. That was kind of the other instrument for us. You know what I mean? We would kind of, I guess, make with harmonies what, another guitar would do if it was just like playing an octave or something. And the thing with TB and I is we always just had a really good understanding of each other's like approach to that stuff. And I think that's probably, among other things, that was one of the things that made our songwriting so productive, and ultimately probably our songs, dare I say catchy, you know what I mean? we could just sit down. Like I could have a vocal line, and I could hear a harmony, and while we're going over it, he would just hit it. So we just had that thing going. Live was hard though, right? It's one thing when you're sitting in your bedroom or your practice space doing it, but anybody out there who plays live knows, unless you're traveling with your own sound guy, it's hit or miss, man. Harmonies are not easy to like find. You play a wrong note on a guitar, you slide down a fret, right, or up a fret, or if you're lucky and you're that close. If you can't hear what the other person's doing on the other side of the stage and you're singing, like, who knows where you are? Like, that's when it gets bad. But you just gotta go for it, man. So, well, thank you very much, Jared Bear. I appreciate that you think I'm so cool. I think you guys are very cool too. If I was a vampire, what kind of vampire would I be? AJ Lopez hit me with the existentials today. The Lost Boy, the Anarite Dandy, or the Animalistic Rodent type. Man, I don't know, dude. I'd say there's a little bit of me in all of those, really. If I could be so dubious to say so myself. It's just like anybody. How many people out there? Are you classy? Are you angsty? You know what I'm saying? Are you well groomed? Are you Are you animalistic? Like, it's the same with people, really, man. I would imagine that, I would like to think that your personality as a vampire gets to be as fluid as your personality as a human, right? Because, probably not, though. That would probably be one of the curses of the afterlife, is that you're stuck in one mindset, which seems to be the case, right? Like Interview with the Vampire, they cut the hair, it comes back, all that stuff. So that is probably, the hell in the vampiric world. Because, as much as being human sucks sometimes, all the trials and tribulations and troubles, we have free will. You know what I'm saying? So you can make your problems better to a degree. You can change your life. You can do what you want within, reason to other people's well-being and living as well. That gets lost. It's easy to get lost because it's hard. I mean, the world is very, very oppressive in many ways, but at the end of the day, free will, man. You know what I'm saying? We are the sons of Lucifer, so do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law, or of the law, even. So there's your answer. So Mezco is sold out? Damn, dude. Mitch Sadler just informs me that Mezco is sold out of all of their Nosferatu figures. I'm glad I got one. So push the button like this. So, that coffin lunchbox that he comes in, 'twas not cheap. So, all right. Any acoustic live shows planned? Yeah, man. Like Hollow Bodies. That's I don't ever really get to go out and do that very much, and it's not for any other reason than scheduling conflicts. The Roving Midnight. That's kind of something that's moving for me. Or was. I mean, Hollow Bodies is moving, but Roving Midnight was kind of moving already before Hollow Bodies became an album/band. So there's some catching up for it to do, but I have a plan for that, and I have some really specific ideas in mind that I want to execute that I think would be good for the Hollow Bodies. It does involve touring. I was already in the process of kind of ciphering all that out into a strategy when coronavirus hit. So it's going to take some retooling, like anything. There's Blitzkid, Roving Midnight, Hollow Bodies. There's all that. So there's plans for everything. So there's no shortage of plans. It's just when the calendars can be stable again. So we'll see what happens. But I hope to see you guys out there. I don't know how many of you guys out there have Hollow Bodies album. Hold on, let me see if I can see it. I got some right here. Shameless plug. Boom. So we had it on vinyl, and that's sold out. Thank you very much. But I do have some CDs left. Again, this goes back to what I said at the top of the show. Blitzkid went into playing acoustically out of necessity for one show, and then we thought it would be a great idea to follow up with it, and we never did. So fast forward to now, when I was working on a lot of the music for Darken Your Doorstep, it was kind of created acoustically, like what I'm doing here with you guys, playing acoustic guitar. And I was living back in West Virginia at the time, and kind of like bouncing a lot of Darken Your Doorstep ideas off of Chris White, who played drums on, a lot of the stuff that I've done. Chris has a really distinct way of, working things out acoustically. So that's how that whole thing came about, was like, let's put this on an album. I've only done a couple of shows with it, it hasn't really been anything prior to the plans that I have now of being anything like, regular, but I have a lot of fun with it, and I think that it brings a completely different angle to what we're doing. It's not just me playing, the songs, on power chords. There's a lot with it. There's violin, there's piano, there's melodica, there's all these things that are going to be incorporated live, and I think it'll be a really good show. So, we'll see. There you go. Talk about Steve Harris. I asked this before, but it was unnoticed. I'm sorry, man. I rant. The ending of Watch With the Ford inspired by Steve Harris's bass style. Absolutely, man. Iron Maiden in general. So what happened with that was, there was that ending on Watch With the Ford. If anyone hasn't heard Watch With the Ford, the Darken Your Doorstep version, the electric version, at the very end of it, it kind of goes off into, like a complete, for lack of a better term or description, Iron Maiden ending. We did that in the studio, man. That wasn't even anything that we had joked around with even in rehearsal. Like, even rehearsals right before the studio. That was in the studio. We were just kind of doing the guitar tracks, the drum tracks, and I was in the booth playing reference. So at the very end, when everything ends, that's when I just started playing the dun 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 dun, and Chris just jumped in, man. We thought it was awesome, so we went back and actually did a take of that, and just left it in, and that's how that ending came about. Huge Iron Maiden fan, in case you guys don't know that. So, I'm no Steve Harris, man. Uncomfortably Numb wants to know what my favorite memory with Jason and Paul Lifeless are. Dude, there were so many, man. I've got, and I'm really thankful, man. I've got so many good memories of, both those guys. Let's start with Paulie. Paul, actually, he played drums on Five Cellars Below, Blitzkid's album. He had been working with Mr. Monster for a long time. We had just lost Ray M, our drummer, prior to Darken Your Doors. Five Cellars Below. And we hadn't quite moved into working with Stripes yet. He was in the band, but we hadn't had a chance to really work with him on our old stuff, much less our new stuff. So we decided that when we went in to do Five Cellars Below, that we were going to commission Paulie Lifeless from Mr. Monster to do the songs. So Chris White demoed all the songs with us, as he always did, and then we sent them to Paul, and then Paul learned them, and we went up to New Jersey and recorded everything with Paul. But one of my favorite memories of him was at that time when we were recording that album, Team America, the movie, had just came out, and you guys have probably seen Team America, and if you haven't, then just it's South Park guys, right? But he was so riveted by that movie, man. Like, the whole time we were recording, like, he couldn't stop laughing. He had just seen it, and he was just telling us everything that he saw. This was kind of pre-YouTube shit, right? So we just had to go on his word. But there was the America Fuck Yeah song at the very end. It was like, America, fuck yeah. So he was telling us all about that, man. And he was there for a couple of days, right? The drum tracks took a couple of days. So we were staying at our friend Johnny Ott's house from Crypt Keeper 5, and we rented Team America one night and watched it, and we saw it, all laughed, and then the rest of the whole time Paulie was there, when he was down in the booth, we would just, just interrupt him while he was playing and be like, Paulie, America, fuck yeah, and then he would just start laughing. And look back on it now, it probably wasn't smart of us. You're like, hey Paul, trying to play our songs, like, let's fuck with you. That's exactly what we did. But I mean, that's just like one random memory, Jason, same deal, man. There's just so many. It's hard for me to say, man. I will say that we played in Long Beach, California once, and I don't know what happened, but he pissed somebody off in the audience, man. And I don't know, I cannot remember for the life of me what happened, but I didn't even know what was going on. I was just over here, like, doing my shit, and I look over and I don't hear Jason, and I don't see Jason, and I look down and Jason's in the crowd and he's in some dude's face. So, I had to throw off my bass and run over and try to get in the middle of it. But, Jason was fiery, dude. You had to keep him on a leash, man, when you're playing live with him. Hold on, I keep fucking my screen up, man. So thanks for listening to all my stories, you guys. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to rant with you or ramble, but I'm trying to answer some of you guys' questions and go through the list here. So, ever thought about signing other bands to a Corpse with No Name to be booked on my behalf, or at least have your stamp of approval on their albums? Yeah, man, I love helping out bands. The only thing is I don't have physical distribution. I had the chance to pick up physical distribution at one point. I was talking to Cargo, and they were going to pick up everything that I was doing, which really is just Blitzkid and Argyle and Goolsby. But the problem with that is, and it's no disrespect towards them, but the problem with that is they wanted digital distribution rights as well. And it gets really complicated with like rights and publishing and things like that. But what you have to understand is, in this era, that we live in musically, like, it's never been easier to be your own advocate, your own label, your own artist, your own publisher, everything. The role of distribution has changed greatly in the past, just like 10 years, man. 20 years ago, if you were in a band, you needed a label, because the label is what got you into stores, and they got you in stores through distribution. It's still good to be in stores, but everyone's interest has shifted. Outside of the collectability of certain vinyls and CDs, wink wink, music is consumed, I hate that word, but consumed digitally. So you're not as reliant on publishing companies anymore, unless you think you're going to do a lot of business in mom and pop chains, which is good. You want to help those chains out, but do you at the same time want to give someone the rights to digital distribution when, like, you can do that yourself? Do you know what I mean? Like, you can go on CD Baby or TuneCore and put everything that you have in front of everyone in the world, man. So I opted not to do that. And I think for a lot of bands, it just depends on what your ultimate goals are, what you want. Do you want to see your CD next to the Misfits in a record store, if that means something to you? If you think that that's important for your plan, then you should do it, right? Did you guys hear that thunder? Ooh, we might have a spooky storm during a Corpse with No Name episode, whatever this is. Damn, it's coming down. Anyway, so yeah, I've thought about doing it, you know what I mean? I did a split with the Big Bad one time under my imprint, but there's nothing that I or any record label can really do for you at this point that you can't do for yourself. It just takes educating yourself on what is out there, and then just following up with it, man. And just staying connected with the people that are out there listening to begin with. So that's kind of where A Corpse with No Name is. If this was a different time and a different place, definitely I would love to be promoting and putting other bands out. But you don't need me taking a percentage off of what you're doing, which is necessary for material and promotion. when you can do it for yourself for free. You know what I mean? So, the more you know. All right, I'm going to roll down through some more here. Trying to not run everybody off. I apologize. What do I think the covers of my music, like Mr. Sardonicus does and other musicians? I think it's great, man. It's always cool to hear other people's interpretations of what we do. Music is a language. You know what I'm saying? Some people speak a certain way. Some people listen a certain way. Some people interpret a certain way. So, it's like, a word. There's many ways. Tomato, tomato, right? I might play Let's Go to the Cemetery. You might play it a different way. It's still the same idea. So that's always cool to see how people, I guess, react to music that you've written. Anatomy of Reanimation Volume 2. I'm going to say soft no on that. Spring Hill Jack, man, that has been something I've been, absorbed in for a long time. And stay tuned for the next album, and you may see something of that nature. That's all I'm saying. So Sarah wants to know, are we on for the shows in October? As far as I know. Second I hear otherwise, I'll let you guys know. And if it is otherwise, it's only otherwise as far as October is concerned. It'll be some other time, but it will be. I mean, like, perfect timing on our end, right? Let's see here. I'm scrolling down. Any favorite hobbies outside of tattooing and music? Yeah, man. I mean, I this is gonna sound so like like I don't know how it's gonna sound. It's gonna sound like maybe slightly redneck and testosterone-y-ish, but I love throwing knives and hatchets, and dare I say I'm pretty good. Next time we're on tour, I'll bring along my knives, and maybe we'll do a little on-stage demonstration with some audience participation. But no, I love it. I love stuff like that. I don't like hunting. I don't like the sport of, shooting things or throwing things, but I like the dexterity of it, like darts. I like darts. I like things like that. And more. I mean, or not. I might just be that boring. I don't know. Just throwing knives and tattooing and whatever. So, annotated Lovecraft sets are sweet. Yeah, there's always new Lovecraft coming out, man. There's a really cool place up in Providence, Rhode Island, that's there now. It's a Lovecraft museum, gift store. If you guys, are near Providence, Rhode Island, definitely, check out the area. They do a lot of tours up there of a lot of the locations that appear in H.P. Lovecraft stories. That's one of the great things about H.P. Lovecraft, which, he adapted from M.R. James, which is one of my favorite ghost story authors that I was talking about earlier from the Victorian period. He was a scholar. He was, I don't know if he was dean, but he worked at Cambridge, so, he was a scholar, but he loved writing ghost stories. And the thing about his work that was so good was he incorporated all this detail and imagery and facts. So if you're reading about this street, I mean, that street probably exists, and it's the same with Lovecraft. Pickman's model, there's a real house where that was apparently, the shadow over Innsmouth, the docks and things like that. That's a real place. Herbert West Reanimator, all these people, all these places, they existed in Providence. They do some really cool tours. The cemetery he is buried in, I think it's called Crown Hill or Crown Point or something like that. You should check that out too. They're kind of weird about people taking photos at his grave. You kind of gotta wait till the golf cart rolls away and get your photos, but he's got a really cool tomb. It's nothing elaborate. It's pretty unassuming. He's buried with his family, and it says, "I am Providence." Which, yeah, he is. You know what I mean? He's one of the best exports to come out of there. I just find it interesting that he put that on his grave, or that maybe it was put on his grave. I don't know, because at the time of his departure, he was not anybody. You know what I mean? he fell victim, like many people do, to not really being appreciated in their time. Yeah, I mean, he was starving. There were many cases where H.P. Lovecraft just was, not healthy, just strictly from not even eating. You know what I mean? Being malnourished. It's crazy how that works, right? Celebrity comes at the strangest times. But back to the Lovecraft Museum. They have a cool statue there now. It's really badass. It's got the Necronomicon and some Cthulhu tentacles coming out of it. So check it out. Providence is just a cool place in general. Somebody said I'd be a Twilight vamp. Yeah, maybe, Only on my sparkly days, which I have many. I cannot scroll today, sorry. Sleep all day, party all night. Yeah, and when I'm on tour, Lost Boys vampire, right? It's all situational. I'm on tour, definitely Lost Boys vampire. When I'm home, maybe I'm a little more of a Dracula, I don't know. Posted up with my fancy teas. Blood. Alright, cool. So you guys have hollow bodies. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. I think I'm going to do a reissue. Appreciate you guys still sticking with me. I know, I'm sorry, I'm just rambling here. Why do I think most of my themes come out horror related? I don't know, man. I think that, without sounding like cliche, there's, beauty, right? In the melancholy. That's why the word melancholy exists. It's beauty and sadness. So that's a concept. My cat's eating dinner. Check it out. Oh yeah. So it goes a few steps further. Why not? In sadness is beauty, and also to a degree in pain. And and there's also all that found in horror, I guess. Depends on what degree of horror it is. If it's like a slasher flick or something like that, probably not. It's more visceral, which has its place and which is cool. But if you just look at nature, man, like for example, the thunderstorm right now outside, you know what I mean? Like that's visceral too. But it's also mysterious. It's beautiful, but it's also dangerous, and I love that sort of stuff. I love that dichotomy. I love the dichotomy of fragility and permanence. I like the dichotomy of beauty and at the same time mystery. It's all tied together, man. You know what I mean? It's like a combo. It's not a pretzel and it's not cheese, man. It's both. It's better. So I don't know, man. Like when I write, I think I just try to channel it through those angles. I try not just to focus on, well, if this is an idea, how horrific can I make it? I also say, well, how beautiful can I make this? Or try. I'm not saying I do. I'm just saying, but try. And then I find those two parallels and I go, okay, well, how can I combine them into one idea? And that's kind of what I try to do. It doesn't, I don't always, but that's what I like to do. So, someone says they love hollow bodies and they wish they had a vinyl, but you can get a CD. We are going to do a reissue with a vinyl soon, so stay tuned. No, man, I'm not involved in any of these political posts, dude. I'm really, that bums me out, man. It really does, because I've never witnessed anything particularly firsthand that would lead me to think on a personal level, like for example, Graves is a bad dude, but a lot of what's going on right now, I can't understand, and just straight up personally speaking, I completely disagree with. So no clue what's going on there, man. I just hope some perspective is given and learned and taken, and man, what can I do, right? But I get what you're saying. What is the music at the end of The Uninvited? That is actually the intro from Darken Your Doorstep, called Midnight Approaches. I wrote that as an intro for the album with Coffin Joe doing the soliloquy on top. So we just took out the soliloquy, the spoken word, and just used that just as a nice end to all the carnage. So let's see, scrolling down. I'm trying. Everybody, stay with me. Did you guys hear the thunder? Shit's coming down, man. Straight up. The old ones are listening. What happens if you got VIP tickets for Dallas, but the border remains closed? Man, I don't know yet. I think that'll come down to a venue by venue basis. First things first, let's make sure we're still on tour. Then once that's good, I'm sure all of the promoters will start, issuing out all the nuances. So we'll let you know for sure. Axe throwing is fun, but like at targets in a safe environment. Yeah, man. Like there was a time when it really wasn't that great, and I just hit the house. So, note to everyone out there: if you're going to throw axes or knives or anything like that, make sure that you have, and you're starting out, make sure you have a buffer zone, or make sure that it's at least not on anything that's going to cost a lot of money to fix, or just know that you can live with holes in your house from axes. I want to see you knock a hot wing out of Howie Wowie's hand while on stage. No chance, man. He's too quick. Guitar or bass tutorials, like how TB does. Yeah, man, but, full disclosure, I don't know what I'm doing, man. I'm just kidding. I know what I'm doing, but I can't tell you, I can't explain to you what I'm doing, I guess. So I think my best advice is maybe I'll just do a really random slow-mo video of me playing something, and then you figure it out, and you tell me. So I have not seen Dr. Sleep, man. I want to see that. Am I a vampire? I could be. Or maybe I'm a human. Maybe I'm a vampire pretending to be a vampire, pretending to be human. Anybody? How avant-garde. Someone will come in with that one. Hollow Bodies Chapter 2, yeah, that's going to be a thing, but it's going to be after the next album, because while I have enough material from Darken Your Doorstep and Saturnalia of the Accursed to probably do another Hollow Bodies album, Thunder, I do want it to be able to incorporate more new stuff, and there is a lot of new stuff. I cannot wait until shit gets figured out. I know what I can do with everything again. Aim out the window. I'm going to play Mary in the Storm for you guys real quick, okay? Let me see if I can get the background going for you, too. I'll open the window so you can hear the rain. Hold on. I'll move you over here. You guys hear that? I don't know if you can hear it or not, but I'll play you the song. Sorry for my asylum white walls and windows. Can someone pay you to feature on their album? I mean, it's not about really money, dude. It's, it's about time, and I also, I gotta be invested, you know what I mean? No offense, not to you, but anybody. I'm just speaking honestly. Like, I'm not just gonna hop on something that I don't want to do. Like anybody, right? So it all depends, you know what I mean? But yes, I will take $1 million. Thank you. Do I have any sci-fi fantasy movies? Yeah, actually, I'm going to talk about that in a minute. Favorite musicians? Me? Who? Me? Thank you very much. Can you give me some inspiration, insight? Because I just joined a band. Yeah, man, use that nervousness. It's good. You need it. You know what I'm saying? Nervousness becomes confidence. And confidence becomes direction. Direction becomes understanding, and understanding becomes your set of skills, man. So just keep on doing what you love. New album, I can't. Here's the thing, there's a lot of stuff coming right now. Someone's like, when's the new album coming? I knew that before March, but everything's backing up, man, which is good, but now I have to figure out there's a lot of stuff happening, and I realize if you go on Instagram right now or Facebook, aside from these videos, the engagement's been kind of low on my end, and that's not because I'm like, fuck Instagram and everybody on it. It's because there's a lot happening, you know, and I'm super busy, you know. It's just me over here, so I will be back with more stuff. Yes, there's a new album coming out first, but the score will be out first. Let's see here. Okay, here we go. This is a very important part to the song if you're learning to play it. Not many people do it. When I see them, watch my pinky. Do that in everything. Come, Mary, come and watch the storm. Mother's fears are tired sleepers beyond the silent windowsill. Mother's fears has no favorite way. The silent phantoms will run like silent phantoms, free until the dawn. We're entwined in midnight's embrace. Your house, a purple prison, so far away. And I'll hide our game in the treetops, and sleeping phantoms we will chase. Rain cam. Come, Mary, come and watch the storm. Mother's candle has exhausted, she's dreaming of your birth. Father's clever watch is laid to sleep. I'll wait for you downstairs, I'll wait for you beyond the ports that creak. We're entwined in midnight's embrace. Your house, a purple ruin, so far away. And I'll hide our game in the treetops, and sleeping phantoms we will chase. Mother's will is far away. Father's fist are far away. We set the horses tonight. Unbridled freedom, blessed night. Mother's will is far away. Mother's will is far away. Father's fist are far away. We set the horses tonight. Unbridled freedom, blessed night. Unbridled freedom, blessed night. Blessed night, unbridled freedom, blessed night. Blessed night, unbridled freedom, blessed night. Blessed night. Don't read and play at the same time, kids. Okay, 1 second. Pick back up. Come, Mary, come and watch the storm. Come, Mary, come and watch the storm with me tonight. We gotta make it pretty, hold on. Hey, if you can bring that to me, I'll dose it. And that was Mary in the Storm.